Poetry
Yeah.
is the other half of what I'd sort of like to talk about tonight, because you're singing Walt Whitman this week with the Philharmonic. You're going on tour to Germany and to France and to England and Spain in the next week or so with the orchestra to take John Adams as the wound dresser to Europe. What was the poetry that grabbed you first in life? Or maybe you found it through song?
I actually did find my real resonance with poetry in general, poetry as a discipline, and of course in different languages, and the essence certainly through song, I must say. I grew up in a very normal environment. I come from a very upper middle class family background. My father is a retired nuclear chemical engineer, and
a typical American family.
Yeah. And Mom worked as a receptionist and then played organ at the church. And so we grew up in a very lively, intellectual atmosphere. Is to say that study was proper, and we didn't all sit around reading books and quoting each other, but there was a lot of television and baseball and a lot of golf with my dad. But studies in school and understanding was a big thing. And my father was an extremely practical and extremely intelligent man, and had an enormously forming force on my life for his belief in the betterment of yourself. A lot of his relatives are Christian Science monitor, so Christian Science. What do we call that? Christian scientists.
Christian scientists,
right.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of that in the house, and Dad never really bought into the fundamentalist side of the religion. So it was a very intellectually active house that kind of took a bit of this and a bit of that. He just felt strongly that the public school system in our area was not producing kids intellectually active or morally stable. And so he felt a private schooling system was better, and I think that's why and this schooling system, the Seventh-day Adventists, have an extremely strong, academically oriented schooling system. So it was more of that than religious fervor. My grandmother took up the religious fervor. My grandmother was wonderful, from Missouri. My folks come from Missouri. And my grandmother used to tell me stories of holy roller camp meetings. Until she got to a proper church, and she said, "I just always thought those people were just crazy, but what they do? Oh!" My grandmother was just wonderful, because whenever she'd get upset or surprised, I mean anything, it was land of Goshen, child. What are you doing now? It was just wonderful. She was a wonderful, and that woman could bake a shoe, and you could eat it. I didn't know what I'd grown up with. The same thing in Washington State. I didn't know until I left how good it is out. The quality of life in the Northwest is extraordinary. The air is clean. You cough for the first days when you get there because it's just, you're not used to that. The water tastes funny because there's nothing in it. But I mean, the fruit season, the vegetable season, it's a wonderful, wonderful place. I'm a big fan. I'm very proud to be from the Northwest. And
I think that learning what we've learned about your family and your background explains some of your attraction to American song, which you have been championing in a huge way in the last few years with the Hampson Foundation.
Right.
And so my sense is that you came to a lot of poetic understanding through your study of German lieder and the French poetry that came into the music that you sang. And the American songs you grew up with, if you were singing in a school choir, for instance, or a church choir. But something about American art song has seized you in the last few years.
Well, without question, and yes, it has. It was a very fertile garden with a lot of vegetables and a lot of flowers in it, and they all sort of came together. And there's certain strands that showed up early, and certainly the German lieder had an enormous influence on my idea or my understanding of singing poetry. And also French song. Actually, I haven't sung so much French song professionally or even recorded, but actually I know an awful lot of these songs, and I adore them, but I hope to get to them actually next season when I finally bury Gustav Mahler again.